Please be advised, this episode includes discussions about suicide, which may be sensitive or triggering for some listeners. Your well-being is important to us, so if at any point you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to pause the episode. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help and support. You can contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.
And now, I Talk Back with Ray.
I'm telling you, I couldn't make it up if I tried.
And Mandii.
You've got to be freaking kidding me. You know what? That's all I'm saying. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on I Talk Back with Ray and Mandii. I am Mandii, and Ray is somewhere. Today, we are joined by an awesome guest. Her name is Karina Monsivais, and she is an amazing person. Her and I met through my current workspace, and we had a conversation, and to me, I felt a connection, and I think just her as a person, she has a lot to say and tell, and I think it needs to be heard. So welcome, Karina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored to be here. My first podcast ever.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been invited too. Yeah.
Well, thank you for choosing us to go with. Awesome. So, Karina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I was born in Brazil back in 1977. I'm 47 years old. My mom, she defected from Cuba when she was 13 and went to Brazil. Most people come to the United States out of a coming out of a communist country. But my mom went to Brazil where she met my dad there. My dad was Mexican, and then they met there. And then I ended up leaving Brazil when I was like 4 years old and moving to Mexico, back to my dad wanted to go back to his country. So after they got married and they had me, we moved to Mexico, and that's where I grew up most of my life. From the time I was like 4 to the time I was around 18 years old. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. That is awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know, the reason I really felt a passion and a connection with Karina is because she has a drive to helping others thrive, especially women, just helping them thrive and moving past, traumas and past experiences, and kind of, with their faith in God, helping them move through things.
Yeah.
And so, we talk a little bit about, what she wants to do in the future and where she wants, her direction to go. And, with her coming over here and moving, I'm sure she has a ton of, memories with her parents, and just talking about, her mom and dad and her loss and things like that. So tell us a little bit how you've moved past that and worked through those things.
So that was, oh goodness, that was very traumatic, obviously. I mean, when I was 14 years old, when I was about 12 years old, my mom got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And then she survived that back in the, late 80s, which was a very low survival rate for cancer. We didn't know very much then about cancer. Then after that, she had breast cancer. And then we moved out of this one city we lived in Mexico and moved to Mexico City. As soon as we arrived, she got diagnosed with liver cancer. And at the time that she got diagnosed and she was in remission from liver cancer, my father got diagnosed with stomach cancer. So then, I'm 14 and my little sister's 8. And we had to go through that. So it was a tough, definitely a tough experience, obviously more than experience, but a loss so big. When I was 14 and my sister was 8.
Wow. So you lost both of your parents?
Yes. So what's interesting is my mom passed away. We'll get into how my mom died in a minute, but my mom passed away, and 12 days later, my father passed away on the same month in the same year, 12 days apart.
Oh
yeah.
My gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
And you were 14.
I was 14 years old. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a tough time. After my parents passed away, we stayed with my dad's family for a minute, but there's nothing that equals a loving home, your parents, your home, you know what I mean? So wherever you are, I don't care if you agree with or you get along with your family or not.
Mhm.
After such a loss like that, it's really hard to find your way anywhere else. It's been tough. Yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I am
I
so sorry
imagine
to hear
at
that.
14 years old, that's such, and 14 years old is such a formidable year. You know,
Mhm.
like your teenage, you just starting your teenage years,
Yeah.
and then to go through, you would really seek direction, from your parents, and then to lose both of your parents, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think I had just gotten my period, I think, as a
Yeah,
like a couple of months before
yeah.
all of that happened. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's a survival
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
mode for a long, 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 long time until something happens in your life that stalls that survival
Mhm.
strategy. And then you're like, well, this what helped me when I was 14 doesn't help me anymore. I need
Yeah.
to move on to a different way of living my life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what how I've been going. Those are the changes I've been going through and growing through over the last year and a half,
Yeah.
especially over the last about 6 months. It was an eye opener for me that, when you have unresolved trauma and unresolved issues, other things about life, they all run together.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, everything is just a big mishmash in your brain of where to start and how everything is making you feel. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
been
sure.
tough.
So if you don't mind, okay, so
Yes,
when you
ma'am.
lost you were 14 years old, and then you lived in Mexico till you were 18. What about what made you have the decision, I guess, to move to the States at 18
Mhm.
years old?
So when I was 14, first of all, I was very fortunate to have had the parents that I had because there was a lot of love and acceptance and respect in my parents, in my family. So I only had them for 14 years, and that has allowed me to sustain kind of my character over all these years.
Mhm.
After my parents passed away, we stayed with my dad's brother, with my uncle, but that didn't work out at all. And so I got tired of it. I know all of my mom's family was in the United States, and some of my dad's family was in El Paso.
Mhm.
So one day I just said, my boyfriend at the time, I was like, buy me a bus ticket to El Paso. I'm out of here. And so he did. He was gracious enough to do it. And I had already left to live with him or be with him for a minute. And then my sister stayed back with my uncle. And then one day I just called my sister up and I said, just put all important papers in your backpack. I'm going to pick you up from school. And she's never been back. I literally kidnapped my sister out of Mexico and took a bus to Juarez, and then I have never been back to Mexico City since.
Wow.
And I had, I don't know, there was something in my soul that said, you cannot leave your sister behind. Now you are her mother, you are her, you know, you're gonna have to be her rock,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah.
So I could not dare to leave. I could have not dared to leave without my sister. That's not the way we grew up. We grew up saying, my parents would say, where you are, your sister has to be. We had the same room, the same bathroom. We shared a room. We shared everything from the time that she was born to the time my parents passed away. And so when I left, I had to make sure my sister came with me. So
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure that that saved her life too. Like
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And now she's a wonderful woman. She married a Marine. He just retired.
wow.
She's been a military wife. She has 3 kids. I
Mhm.
mean, she finished college. I mean,
Oh, that is awesome. Wow.
she's a great human. Yeah.
Parents are definitely proud of you for doing that. I tell you, I'm proud of
I
both of
hope
you.
so, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah,
I hope I have some brownie points somewhere.
Yeah.
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 That's
I'm
awesome.
sure I made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure nobody can say they're perfect. So
Right.
those
right.
mistakes aren't really mistakes, right? They're just learning experiences to help us figure out where we can do better at and where we could thrive more. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I
Absolutely.
know, but my heart goes out to you,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, losing a parent and, even just one is hard enough and you've lost both. So, wow. Much love to you for getting through all that and being able
Oh,
to
thank
just
you.
trek your way forward and move past it, or move
Yeah.
through it, I should say. You can never move past it. But yeah, so Rashawn too, she's lost a parent, so
Oh, I'm so
it's
sorry.
hard. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's tough. It's a
Yeah, for
tough thing to
sure.
go through.
For sure. But yeah, like I said earlier, Karina has a passion for helping people, which we can see here, and helping people thrive. And so when we had a conversation about that, we talked about where her passion fell, and she wants to help people move past trauma or unresolved trauma. And she also has a passion for photography and fashion. So this is why she looks so cute today, Ray, with her cute little lamp in the background.
Stop it. Stop
I know,
it.
but I love that lamp.
Yeah. So she has
That would go with my decor.
right. Ray's like,
Oh,
So she has a passion, or she has a page on Instagram where she shares like outfits of the day and things like
I
that. And
do.
it's so cute. It is
Oh,
so freaking
I'm gonna
cute.
have to follow
Thank
you, Miss
you.
Karina.
Yeah, no, I thank you so much. Yeah, I dabble into that. I've always when I was growing up, I remember my mom buying the European magazines where all the royalty would be in the, wearing and all their galas
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So I remember seeing Lady Diana with all of her outfits, and I
Yeah.
was just mesmerized by pictures and fashion and all that. I dabble into that. I love photography. I like it a lot. I still have clients that call me up for family pictures and things like that, which I tend to do during this time. But at one point I'm like, why don't you just turn the camera to myself? I mean, I enjoy it so much. Why don't you start doing that? And the only thing about that I've experienced with having a blog and fashion and all of that is before you get endorsed by any products or companies or whatnot, it's you have to buy stuff.
Yeah. And put yourself out there. For
And
them to see
exactly.
you.
It
Yeah.
takes a lot of, I mean, my heart and my whole respect goes out to you guys, because it takes a lot of courage to be out on the other side
Yeah.
of the camera and the video or whatever it is, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
I'm normally on the backside, so Amanda's more comfortable with it than I am.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable in the background.
Yeah.
I have a big personality, but most people don't really get to experience that until you're like with me, like in private settings and stuff like that. So.
And with me,
Absolutely.
I like her to come out more and be in front of things because she has such a just like a great personality, and just a conversation with Ray is like, it's like super like easy flowing, and she's so funny, and she's just such a joy to be around. I'm like, people need to see you, girl. Come on out of the shadows.
I know. We tend to be more, I guess, more open and social when you're in front of each other, rather than talking to a screen. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Sometimes I think I'm camera shy, but I really try to get myself out there. And I have, one thing that I think is really telltale sometimes is that the perception that we have of ourselves is worse than what people think of us. Yeah. Why? Like, I've done videos and I get my views up and all this stuff, and people keep doing it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is not going to go anywhere. I look awful, whatever. And then people are like, do it. I love that outfit. People out there buying
they have
stuff.
Good cheerleaders. Yeah.
I know. And I'm like, I had no idea people were actually looking forward to these people buying stuff without me knowing, because I don't have links that give me any commission or anything. So showing up to the same places with the outfits that I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So hold
up. Let me put a pause on that. Did you say you do not have any affiliate links anywhere up? Is this what I just heard? Yeah.
I know.
No, pause. Girl, first of all, we need to get you a store going. Like, you need a store with your if it's an Amazon shop or wherever, you need to get affiliated so that way you can earn commission off those sales, girl.
You know what? I've tried. So let's be real. We're gonna be real.
Yes,
right. We're gonna be real. I've applied to Amazon. I applied to Like to Know, but I think they need more consistency, because I work so much and I travel so much, and it's really hard to do all of that plus have a full-time job.
Oh, absolutely.
So my consistency is there, but it's not uniformity. And so I've got I've been denied to the party.
Okay.
So for some reason, so on TikTok, I'm popular sometimes. And so I don't know why. Because
That's
Oh,
funny.
I know why. I know why, but go ahead.
But like, so I got invited to open up an Amazon store
Mhm.
Oh
from
my.
Amazon. And I was like, whatever, I'll apply. I'll just kind of like what you know, I'll just apply it to see what they're gonna say. No, I just wanted just having fun. And they accepted me. So I do have an Amazon store that I've never done. Man, if you need to log in and do it for me. Well,
Yes.
like, I haven't, but I did get accepted, like to do the, where you can like tag stuff and
Yes.
people can buy your own commission. I have,
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
actually have a store, but that is as far as it has gone. I have
Mhm.
not put anything
No,
on
ma'am.
it.
No, ma'am.
And they keep reminding me. They keep reminding me. So I have like 2,000 and something followers. Like it's just so
I'm
funny
gonna
to
tell you this though, so I went if I go to Target and buy products, you know how you can go in there and you can tag the products that you're wearing
Yes,
or whatever. So
yes.
I do that. Target has asked me to
Yes.
allow them access to that video, and I've done that.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay, good.
so yeah, and so I do put the products that I'm wearing, that I do mention them and I
Yeah.
link them.
Mhm.
But I don't have a link yet. You
Yeah.
have to help me with that,
No,
Mandy.
they gave me the whole store and they were like,
Yes.
congratulations and da da da. And I think it's really just a followers thing, to be honest with you, because I've never promoted a product. I've never said anything about a product. I've never said, hey, I like this. Absolutely never in any video have I ever done that. And so I think it's literally just a followers thing.
Mhm.
It's exactly
Like
Sometimes.
right. You're
one of my
exactly
videos
right.
went like completely viral. And it could have been the viral video. I had one video that has like, what is it, Mandy? Like, oh, it's over 200 and something thousand like likes and like comments and stuff. And I think that is kind of what catapulted it.
Mhm.
Because I started getting
Yes.
invited to do stuff after that.
So,
I like a
yeah.
lot of the lip syncs that they have like you can do it TikTok.
Yes.
And I had a lip sync. It was like a Mexican mom speaking Spanish and all this stuff. And that one had about 130, 140,000
Yeah.
views,
Mhm.
but they took down the sound.
Yeah.
Oh, and that really messes it up when they do
Yeah.
that.
And that messed it up because
And
obviously
mine
now
was not
nobody.
even talking. Mine was literally just words.
Yeah.
It
It
was
was it
literally
was
just,
the one about the son, right? About your son and being a mom.
that was the first. That one has like
Because you
8,000
had
or
a
something like
couple,
that.
right? You had a couple that
Yeah,
went
the
viral.
second, and
Yeah.
I was like,
That
oh
is
my
so
god! Like,
cool.
the second one that went totally crazy was about just like knowing your worth and
Mhm.
Oh, I
not
love
allowing
that.
yourself to be, not allowing yourself to be in spaces where you're
Absolutely.
not appreciated and stuff like that. And that's
Absolutely.
literally all it was. That's all
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And it went crazy. Like the shares went crazy. Like it just went crazy.
That is
Mhm.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
that is awesome. Wow.
Yeah. So it's like when you hit the people, I say, we'll just say, well, when you hit people's soft spots, when you
Yeah.
can get them with their emotions and things like that, that's what's going to grab them. And of course,
It's like what
entertainment.
resonates.
Yes, when it
Yeah.
resonates with them, or if
Mhm.
it's something that they want, right? Because people
Yeah.
will prioritize what they want. And that's, like a lot of people are like, oh, well, money's tight right now, money's hard, people aren't spending money. People are spending money, they're just spending money
They
on things that
certainly
they
are.
want, and that they
Yeah.
feel that they need, that they can't live without. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's kind of like presenting it to them as connecting with them on an emotional level and then letting them know why they need it. And so, Karina, when you were talking about Target using your videos, it's, because a lot of time it's free advertising for them, one, because they're getting user generated content, and so they're showing other people why they need this product, so then they get more sales too, so you should be getting royalties off that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We're gonna have to talk a
Yeah.
business. Hey,
Yes,
Ray and I are gonna have to have business talk with Mandy at this point because I don't know what
Look,
else.
yeah,
I just give Mandy
Yeah,
my logins for stuff. I don't know.
yeah, I know. I need to do that too. She needs to handle all of my social media
I'm
and
like,
all of
here's
my
my
interviews too.
login.
She's
I'm
gonna
like,
be my PR.
and this is why I created my company, Crafted Elite Solutions, which is a
Seriously.
marketing company.
Yes.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Yeah.
absolutely. We're
I
gonna
even
have to
like to like
talk. No, I'm
recommend it.
serious. We're
Yes.
gonna have to
Recommended me.
talk. We're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to
Absolutely.
strategize.
This is her thing. Like but she enjoys it,
I do.
right? And I
Oh
don't
yeah,
enjoy that. Like that's a big
exactly.
difference. Like I don't enjoy.
You hit it right on the nail.
I don't
Yeah.
enjoy it, and so some people like I'm like I'll do paperwork. Like
Yeah.
I'll file some tax return, but I'm not trying to like do all
No,
that.
you're the
Like
nerd. You're the nerd of the
you know what I'm
operation.
saying?
That's
Yeah,
And
right.
so like I
yeah.
will sit here and do paperwork and read books and like
That's funny. You
Yeah.
know what's
blue
funny?
laws.
I have a side of me that is very nerdy. Like I have a thing with books. Like I'll go to Barnes
Yeah.
and Nobles and get 3 books on self-growth. I love reading about self-growth stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll have those books pending that I'm going to get to them when I'm done with the one I'm reading now. Then I
Yeah.
go back to Barnes and Nobles 3 weeks later, but get
Get
another
more.
book. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have, I don't know how many. I'm telling you, it's pretty ridiculous. I've had to like stop myself from buying more because I'm like, I have 10 books that I have not read that I need to get to.
I
I
feel you on
love
that.
books. Like I do, as you can see, and these are just like I think learning.
I
like,
see that. Yeah, I love.
That's like
people.
nothing. I have a
Yeah.
huge one in my bedroom. Like I love reading. I have books kind of scattered throughout my whole house.
Good for you. You don't find people a lot of these days reading anything.
Yeah,
I
they
love
do everything
reading.
online. I like physical books. I like to
Me
have it
too.
in my hand.
Yeah.
Me too.
and read it.
I'm like that too.
I
You
love
can be
the,
wherever and just like
Yeah.
turn the page. I don't know. I just like it.
I love
like
the
that too.
smell of books too. I love the way they
Yeah,
smell,
that
like the
paper.
pages. Yes.
I like the highlighting. The highlighting in the note taking. You
like,
know.
Oh, see, I
Right.
can't do. I won't do that. Like that's that kinesthetic learner part of you because you have to be kinesthetic to do that. Like I'm not a kinesthetic learner.
Yeah.
Like colors
Oh,
and
is that what it's
highlights
called?
that just messes me up. Yeah,
I
so I'm
had no idea.
an instructor too, and so I can kind of pinpoint my different students like learning styles.
Mhm.
Just by I can always tell who is going to be beneficial for what learning style based on how they show up on the first day. So when I see the people walk in with the bag of markers and highlighters,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, they're kinesthetic. So they're
Yeah.
better with visual, you know.
Yeah.
And people just like
Absolutely.
my note takers, I can lecture to them all day and they'll take notes and not get bored. But my kinesthetic people will lose their minds if I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like so everybody just has there's another one, but there's different learning styles. So I can just kind of tell. So you're the highlighter girl. So
I am both. That is so funny. Can I be both? Because I feel like I take notes and then I go reread it and highlight the things that I think I need to have stand out for me.
Yeah.
You know, I have to go to the grocery store and get like note cards like this.
Yeah.
Like little index cards.
Yeah.
Because there are quotes that really like resonate with me, with my life, with what I'm going through. And I know I'm going to forget them.
Yeah.
Somewhere in my brain, I'm never going to be able to relate back to that. And so I have to write them down and then put them in my journal or in my Bible, somewhere where I open up and it's there. Because if not, I'll forget. And that's why I highlight. I always, you go back to the book and go, oh, I read something very interesting, but where is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
hilarious. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I also tab.
Yeah.
Oh, tab is good.
Too.
I don't do
tab
that
too. Like whenever
That's
I'm
funny
like,
that you say that. I just added tabs to my Bible.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I'll tab because I like it's cleaner to me.
Yeah.
Tabs?
I can move them around and stuff. Because if I highlight, I feel like I'm gonna highlight everything. And so I just don't like all the colors distract me.
Yeah.
And so I'll just kind of get like I will tab just so I can or I screenshot stuff a lot too.
It's so funny. It's so funny you say that because I had an I think it was like an email I had printed out because I wanted to highlight it. And I highlighted like almost an entire paragraph. And so one of the doctors I worked for, he walked in and he says, wow, you highlighted a whole paragraph. Like he noticed it that I highlighted a whole paragraph. I was like, yeah, because it's all important. Like I need to remember the whole thing.
Yeah, it's all important. So I'm like, I'm just not going to highlight because it is everything will be highlighted.
So funny. Yes. But I love reading too. I love books. I have so many books and I'm like Karina, I have probably about 10 to 15 that I have not read, but I just keep collecting them because I know I want to read them eventually. Yeah. But honestly, right now with everything that I'm trying to build and things that I'm doing, I just honestly don't have time right now, but I know I will. And I want to have them for when I'm ready to read them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm like that too.
Yeah, but I always think it's also aesthetically pleasing to me seeing a bookshelf, like seeing books on a shelf. I just love the way they look. I don't know what it is.
It's funny you say that. When I bought the tabs for my Bible, because I copied that off of my daughter because she has tabs for hers. And I'm like, oh, I want tabs for mine. So I went and got me tabs and I put them on my Bible. And look, they're all like
cute.
It's so cute, right?
Oh, I like that.
And so cute. And you can just buy the tabs. So anyway, so I put them on my bed and I put my Bible. I'm like, I like the way my Bible looks on my bed with all those tabs.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're like studious.
Yeah.
I wanna look like I'm smart and put it on like I just did it, but I haven't opened my Bible in a week, so anyway. It's okay.
So when Karina and I were talking when we were at the office, she told me that she wanted to be a speaker, like go and speak to women, like in front of women. So tell us a little bit about that.
So this came when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old. I remember my mom was pregnant with my sister and she was taking a nap. And then I was pretending that I was speaking. I was in Mexico at that time, but I already spoke English. And because I went to a bilingual school. My dad was very highly educated, always had us in bilingual schools. And so I was when she was taking the nap, I was pretending that I was speaking to the masses speaking English. And that image has been in my head for such a long time. But I never knew what to talk about or what to say or anything like that. And honestly, I am not a licensed anything other than I'm a licensed insurance agent. That's pretty much it. I don't have a license for psychology or psychiatry or therapist or anything like that. But I think that the experiences that I've had, which have been so hard to really to go through, would probably, if people can hear what I have to say and hear how I try to resolve it and how I try to live my life, I could probably help someone, and I hope that we can talk about my mom in a minute, but I hope that if whoever's listening, if you get anything out of this interview, if you ever thought about harming yourself in any way, just remember what that does to the people that are left behind. And if I can help in that way, and if I can, shed a light somewhere in that realm, I would, I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Telling my story. When my mom died, when my mom passed away, I was told not to ever say anything about how she died and why she did what she did. And that silenced me for many years. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have to be very careful with people that are going through a loss, and what you say sticks like Velcro. And so that person said that to me, and until this day, I never said anything about it. Until I started to realize, wait a minute, maybe that's what the problem. Maybe I need to air all this out a little.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. No.
So how did your mom pass, Karina? Like, what is that story?
So my mom, I mentioned earlier that my mother went through a lot of heartbreak with communism. When Castro took over in Cuba, she left to Brazil and she never saw her parents again or her brother. That created a lot of trauma and a lot of unresolved issues then as she grew up, and then went to Brazil, finished school, graduated from college, got married and all of that. We are always carrying a lot of unresolved issues. All of us do. But I think back then mental health was not as a thing, I guess, as it is now. Anyway, so after she went to Brazil and then we left Mexico, she was just by herself. And when she passed away, after she was in remission, she decided to commit suicide. She took her life in our home. And that was probably the most traumatic thing I've ever gone through.
Yeah. For sure.
And did your father pass naturally after that, or did he?
So my dad passed away 12 days later. He was just stomach cancer. He succumbed to it. Died asking about her. So
who in your family told you not to speak about it? Was it your father?
Uncle. My uncle. My mom never got along with my dad's family. She always felt that she was rejected and not accepted by his mother and his brother, my uncle. So my mom didn't have any of her family with her. So she kind of used, I think, and that is, I think, transgenerational too, when we use relationships to numb ourselves from something. So my mom didn't have anybody that she only had us, and she had her husband. And they did build a beautiful family. And our family was absolutely incredible. But when my father was diagnosed with cancer and he was terminal, she didn't know. because that was her rock. That was her reason to live. That was her strength.
Yeah.
So when my dad got diagnosed, I think her world just crumbled. And then she had still two little girls, one 14 and another one 8 years old. She's in remission. She doesn't know if she's going to live. She doesn't know anything. All she knew at the time was that my dad was going to die. And what was even worse than that is my dad built a business, a construction firm. He was an engineer. He built a construction firm to a very high level along with his brother. And then we were down to nothing after my parents passed away. So it was a traumatic thing. And then back then, there was also no insurance. So all of my mom's treatments and my dad's treatments were paid for in cash out of the company's money. So it was a lot of loss, more than just the loss of my parents. There was a lot of loss of status, a lot of loss of money. Literally after my parents passed away, I think all we had was my parents' home, which was then taken also. And everybody's just running for the hills at this point, I think. And now that I look back, you know, I don't have anger anymore. I don't have resentment anymore, other than just wanting to understand a new way of living. I don't have to survive anymore. I don't have to, you know, I want to live my life. I don't want to survive it anymore.
Yeah.
So one morning, my mom, I was asleep, and my mom asked my sister she was calling me to go downstairs to have breakfast. And I ignored it. I was like, I'm tired. I'm going to go back to sleep. It's one of those things that you're halfway asleep, halfway awake. And it wasn't 20 minutes later that one of my cousins that were visiting from El Paso, because my dad was dying, they were there to say goodbye to my dad. 20 minutes later, there's like a ruckus in the house. People running and crying and running, and what's happening? So my oldest cousin walked into my parents' bathroom, and there was my mom. And then I got up, and then I was trying to figure out what's happening. I go to my mom's bathroom, and I saw my mom. And then after that, it's you know, I've never thought of hurting myself in any way. I love life, and I love whatever it is that God has, however many years God has planned for me to be on this earth. I plan to honor that. I don't know what state of mind my mom had to be in order to do something like that. But I was told not to say anything. I was told not to say how she died, and I refused to. I refuse to do that anymore. She committed suicide, and that's the reason why she died. And the aftermath of people that leave that way and commit suicide, the aftermath of who they leave behind, and the questions that it leaves behind, the hurt is so much. And so
you have questions you'll never have answers to, you know, because the one person that needs the answer is no longer here to give the answer, you know.
Absolutely.
And so it's just like it's a feeling of probably lost and hopelessness and a lot of things, you know, that I can't speak for your mom, obviously, but I have been in her position. And so I think whenever you have hopelessness is when, like, I did the whole thing. I told my kids goodbye. I did.
Honey.
Yeah. It's a different, I'm not taking away from your story, but we'll obviously have an episode about that later. I'm going to do it in October's, but like it's you do, like, to this day, no one knows why I woke up. There's no one knows why.
Oh my goodness.
I know why, but like, as far as medically speaking, you know, no one knows why. But I think, like, for you, silence is just, silence is a silent killer as well. You know?
It sure is.
Yeah, because you don't know who you can touch and help with your story.
Yeah.
and who was also told not to say anything.
Yes.
And who was also told to keep quiet. You know what I mean? But I think just your bravery and your willingness to look past even yourself, to maybe help reach out and help someone else will keep them from being silent. Even if somebody's struggling with that, you know, it's like the simple fact that you said you have to. One thing that people don't think about is the trauma and the generational legacies that they leave.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, but in that moment, a lot of the time you feel like you don't want to be a burden.
Right.
Right. So they're not really thinking about it like, oh, I'm gonna like leave these scars on my children. They think of it like, I'm going to relieve their pain. I'm going to relieve the burden.
That's exactly
I'm going to relieve. So they're not really thinking about the aftermath. They're looking at more of like how they're feeling, you know, and about and it's a warped sense of reality, right? Because you're thinking you're causing so much trauma.
It's completely skewed. But you know what
you look at like, oh, they'll be better when I'm gone.
Exactly.
No,
I was about to
they're
say.
not. That is a
For
lie.
sure. Yeah.
That is a lie from the enemy.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
6 months ago, I had a very important life event about 6 months ago. And I went to therapy I didn't do it a lot. I did it maybe twice or 3 times to therapy. One of the times that I went, the therapist said to me, this is the thing, what's happening to you, you're taking it as abandonment and you're taking it as rejection. And it is tied to that event with your mom, because what you received from what your mom did is the rejection and abandonment. That's what you received from your mother. But she probably didn't do it. Obviously, she didn't do it with that intention. She did it with the intention that you'd be better. You and your sister would be better. That she wouldn't be a burden. But the way you receive the message is, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I'm not good enough to be here with her. Oh my God. And so you're exactly right. That is a very skewed and very warped sense of reality. It doesn't exist. There's just dark forces talking to your ear, telling you that you're not good enough, and that's so not true.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like your story, as I said, it's just so poignant. I don't know it's I don't know what made you want to start telling your story, but I think it's great that you're telling your story. You know, because you're coming from it from a survivor point of view.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
which is just amazing, because a lot of people don't talk about that. You know, and
there's a lot of stigma behind suicide.
Exactly.
Even now, I remember Dr. Peterson saying, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to be more vocal about my experience, was I heard Dr. Peterson say, don't ever estimate the hole that your absence will leave. And that is in everything, not only in suicide, I think also in relationships, in your children, with your spouse, with your boyfriend, whoever leaves your home, whoever leaves your life. Don't ever estimate the power of your presence in someone's life. You know, it's very important to know that. And yes, you're right. As a survivor, not that I did it, but as a survivor of a loved one committing suicide. I want to, if you don't remember anything, just remember this. Whoever's listening. After my mom died, I had a dream that my mom had come to me to pick me up from my uncle's home. The dream was, come on, I'm here now. Let's go. I'm not dead. I'm here. And in my dream, it was so vivid that I'm like, oh, she never killed herself. She never died. Oh, she's here to pick me up. I wake up from my dream and I realize, oh, no, she did die. That was the most awful dream a 15-year-old kid can have. And so that's the aftermath of what happens if we leave and we decide ourselves to leave this world. I cannot stress enough to do everything you can to, if that's, if that's the inclination you have to end your life, I urge you to go seek therapy, seek help, seek whatever it is that you have to do. Go out, take a walk, go after physical exercise, change your diet, go to therapist. I don't know what anybody has to do, but think of what the questions are going to be left behind to have to, that we'll never have an answer, especially when it comes to feeling rejection and feeling abandonment. Those are feelings that are really hard to cope with.
Yeah, and then that stuff will like obviously like show itself and show up in other ways because a lot of people that have
Absolutely.
abandonment issues end up with bad relationships.
That's exactly
In
right.
general, simply because they're always afraid of somebody leaving or internalize it and push people away because they don't want you. They don't want you too close because
Right.
when you leave, right, it's almost like you just know everybody's gonna leave because everybody leaves, right? So then you push people away, not realizing that's really what you're doing unintentionally and subconsciously. Because in your mind you're in a self-preservation mode. You're like, well, if they
Absolutely.
don't ever
Mode.
get too
Yeah.
close, then when they leave, it won't hurt too bad, you know. And then so you end up, and it's just a cycle. As I said, I'm really big into like mental health and
Me too. Yeah.
noticing and like I said before, in my situation, one thing people don't realize is if somebody, and this is just my personal experience, while somebody's reaching out to you about it, that they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
They need help, but they're fine. When they stop talking is when you should be concerned.
Yes.
Because when they stop talking
You're
about it and
exactly
they
right.
stop reaching out is when they have made their mind up.
Or they're planning.
I remember my mom the night before.
Mhm.
She was just quiet. She was
And
determined.
peaceful.
It was a peaceful determination
Peaceful.
that I've
Yes.
never
Yeah.
felt before from her.
Yep.
But you're too little, so you don't
Yes.
interpret any of
You
that.
don't
I was
know it.
just,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and to your point, trauma can make you push people away, or alternatively, what has happened to me is because of all the love that was injected into my life and all of the beautiful memories. My parents were a beautiful couple. I never saw them fight. I never saw disrespect from each other. Alternatively, what's also very painful is you're open for love. You're open to love. You're open to, even though that happens in your life, you're open. You want to love and you want
You believe in
connection
it.
and all
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's amazing that your heart is still open to all of that. And it's thanks to the way that you grew up. But if somebody decides to leave,
Mhm.
that you really were, behaved in a very honestly with this person, and then you decide to leave you, it's really hard for your brain to separate
Mhm.
the event of life, which is a breakup,
Mhm.
from the trauma of something like that, of loss from
It's
30
all, it's
years ago.
all, it's all, it's all, and even the whole spectrum, there's a grieving process.
It's exactly right. It
It's a
starts
grieving
again.
process.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it has nothing to do with the person that left.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do. So you have to say, okay,
Mhm.
I have to calm down and separate both events, because everybody gets broken up with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It happens to everyone. Loss happens to everyone else. You have to tell your brain, we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Because it starts that flight mode, fight or flight mode, to where I don't know what to do. I'm getting abandoned again. But it's once you get older, those wounds are even stronger.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
A lot of mental health and it's genetic.
It's
Mhm.
Some
exactly
people
right.
are more susceptible simply
Right.
because of, and it could be genetic. It could just be simply because you've experienced it,
Life.
right?
Yeah. It's life.
And so I think sometimes you're just a little more susceptible to unhealthy ways of coping.
It's
That's
exactly
how
right.
people want to say it, simply because of what you've been exposed to. So
Right.
even me, I've had a lot of trauma in my life too, but you do, like, I've had to find like a better way to cope with things
It's
because
exactly right.
right, because like even now, like what I had, and unfortunately my coping mechanism has been to leave.
Mhm.
Oh,
Like before you get me,
I'm gonna
I'm
go.
leaving.
Yeah.
Like any sign of
that's fun.
like
Yeah.
any sign of like, oh, you didn't call back, well, okay, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Like so then like I'm hyper sensitive to abandonment, right?
Anxious.
I'm
Yeah.
anxiousness, and also some of that honestly comes from at one point being so vulnerable
Mhm.
and then you get kind of like abandoned in different ways, or just like mistreated and abused and that kind of thing. So then you get like, oh, that ain't never going to happen again. So then you build this wall.
Yeah.
Right. So where you like, no one could climb over it, and then you have little spikes at the top to where they get to that wall. Oh, they're going to get hurt and fall down on the other side anyway, So
But
like,
what has happened to me too is because of that trauma, and then because of what I had to learn about myself about 6 months ago. If somebody comes to your life and they leave, and you've been nothing but kind and honest and loyal, and they decide to leave your life, yes, that's a fact of life, but you have to understand to have compassion for yourself. And that forces you to have compassion for that person, because now you have information that they don't have. Right. And so it's hard. It's really hard to not react to what how people hurt you, and completely think of it as, okay, how am I going to react from this? What am I going to learn from this, and move on and be here if they want to talk. And if they don't, they don't. But I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I've been a good person, that I've learned from my mistakes, that I've learned from my own trauma. And I need to hold on to my own dignity and self-respect and go. The way I cope with it, yes, it's just like you guys. I read a lot, right? I'm fortunate enough to have a really good day job that allows me to have, I thank God, a good living and a good income for me and for my daughter. But beside that, I also have, deal with stress with moving my body and eating as much as good as I can eat, and all of that. And so all of that is a big, take supplements, and all of that is connected.
Yeah.
And then learn to be silent. I've gotten to a point now where at night before I go to bed, I make myself some tea. I sit on the floor of my bedroom, and I just sit and quiet, just be.
And we have to give ourselves grace, and we don't give ourselves enough grace.
We
We're going to
don't
give
do
everybody
that.
else grace.
You're
and we don't
absolutely
give ourselves grace, and I think like that's a huge thing too. We have to give ourselves grace in order to move on, and to you know what, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna make mistakes. I still do. Some days I don't give grace as I should to myself or anybody else, but knowing that we're human and we're going to make mistakes, as long as we recognize it and learn from it and try not to repeat it, that's what it is. But I think we also have to learn to give ourselves grace in situations.
And and as a woman, it's like, we are already programmed to want to help other people. Like, we want to help other people, but it's like, if we're helping other people, when are we going to help ourselves? When are we making ourselves important too?
Yeah.
We treat our pets better than we treat ourselves.
Yeah.
Because my dog was spoiled. I tell you that.
I was like, Ray, Trinity.
That was my baby until she passed. But I'm telling you, it's like it is. It's like we have to learn to give ourselves grace and the space to move and learn, and to just learn about ourselves. And I think it's just great that like you're speaking about your story, Miss Karina, because I don't know you personally, but like just even hearing your story, a lot of it resonates. And I can see it could resonate with so many people on so many levels in different points of view. And so I just think it's great that you and that it speaks to your character, that you were like, even though you're experiencing pain and now you're dealing with it, and you've gone through things and still will go through things, that like you're like, somebody, I know if I don't help but one person, you know what I mean? Like that's a thing. Yeah.
If we can help one person prevent from doing something like that and give them an alternative, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't suppress it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't suppress this anymore. I can't do it. I'm not saying that's my identity. I'm not saying but that's part of my past. It is part of my family's history.
Yeah.
Without it being part of my identity, it is really hard to identify with that event as part of me. It's just a story. The story of my life.
It's part of your story. And it goes to like why you are the way you are. And if any of those things are taken away, even those unfortunate things, you would
I
not be the
wouldn't be
person
talking to
you
you.
are.
Yes.
I wouldn't be
You
talking to
know,
you right now.
as bad as everything, like the God's hand is in everything, and
Mhm.
He makes no mistakes.
It's
And so
exactly right.
so I think even in that, you have to just give yourself grace and know there's a bigger plan. Like everything that happens that's unfortunate, the Bible says, God will turn it around and make it for your good, you know. And so I just think like even like silent, like you being silent for so long, you were silent for whatever reason, and how long you were silent was all in His plan too.
Yeah.
So whenever whatever has happened to make you talk, sometimes He has to shake us up a little bit. Sometimes He has to make us uncomfortable enough to where, you know what, we say, you know what, enough is enough. I have got to talk about this. I have got to tell somebody else about this. Because the worst thing that happens to people is people feel like they're the only ones going through it.
It's exactly what
Like
trauma does.
no one,
Yes.
yes, like you're like no one else is experiencing this. No one else has gone through this. And why do people think like that? Because no one talks about it. Because the one person that could really say, you know what, girl, just keep going.
Yeah.
One day you're gonna wake up and it's not gonna hurt so bad. But if no one tells their story, because people attach shame to stories, people attach, you know, just like they want you to be quiet because people they look at it like it's a shameful thing.
Right.
But a lot of it, you could be somebody's breakthrough. You could be that one person that they listen to by happenstance, and you're like, oh, maybe I can reach out to her. Maybe I can talk to her. Maybe, okay, so maybe I don't need to make this decision. Maybe I didn't even think about what happened to my kids 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road if I did this. You know what I mean? So I think like just even like that realization for whatever had to happen to you to make you start talking now, that's in His plan too, you know? And so I just think that's, and I tell people, I always say thank you, because somebody told me this yesterday, but I always say thank you for allowing God to use you. And thank you for being obedient to His word. Thank you for being obedient to His voice.
That's exactly right. You know, they say that I heard there are these like videos on YouTube that I've been beginning to listen to a lot. And in one of those, it says that God has no rival and God has no equal, and He's never lost any battles. So whatever battles we're going through, it's we're just gonna have to be faithful in knowing that He is in the fight with us. And sometimes we get tired of the fight to where you go, you know what, I'm done with this. This is my story. This is what it is. I can't deal with anymore. I'm burdened. Please take this away from me. And He will take away the burden part of this. Let me find a new way, a new paradigm, a new way of looking at this that doesn't hurt so much. And you will get to that. You will get to that. And so to me, injecting, okay, the truth about it, no matter how the truth looks to me, no matter how it looks to me, is it filled with shame? Is it filled with whatever negative emotions you want to? Yes, absolutely, it is. But no matter how the truth looks to me, here it is. And then hopefully somebody will go, you know what? I've gone through that too, and I'm not going to do that to my kids, or I'm not going to do that to my mom, or I'm not going to do that to whoever is left after I do what I want to do, you know. And so if that can be helped, especially now, I've heard in like high school, so many kids, you know, committing suicide these days is absolutely astronomical. What this generation is doing to themselves, I just don't, you know, it's so sad. But
it's very interesting, you know. But I said in every tragedy, there's always the silver lining in of it. You know what I mean? And maybe like I don't know. I mean your situation, but too, I know you said you're a parent, you're a mom, and so to your daughter, I've heard you say that. But maybe it made you think about your daughter differently, and made you be there for your daughter differently. It made you know, and so. And even just being more open, it just kind of maybe made you think about just parenting, you know, just parenting differently. So,
and not only that, I mean, I think a situation for like what I went through, for example, cancer. So the story of loss in my family is like an ever evolving situation, because we have the depression part, which I'm prone to, right? And so I have to make sure that I take supplements, that I eat well, that I move my body, and that I, you know, don't make decisions from an unresourceful state. Don't be in your bed all day and try to figure out if you're worth anything. Yeah, you won't, because you're laying down in bed.
You're not going to feel like it. We don't always
Right,
feel like we're worth
exactly.
anything.
You're not going to feel like it. You want to talk about how much you're worth. Go and take a walk. And then think. You have to think of your states of mind when you're trying to make a decision. But the depression portion is one part to always be aware of, right? Another thing too is the actual reality that both of my parents had cancer. I have to have sonograms done. I have to have mammograms done and pap smears, and all of this has to, blood exams and all of that, 3D mammograms. And I had a scare 2 years ago with an adenoma that they found in my left breast. And I had to go through biopsy. I remember going to those visits with my mother. I was scared to death. So there's a lot of realities that we have to confront. The depression is one, but the actual physiology of your body that you can inherit from your parents is really, and if you wake up the hormones of stress, being depressed, not eating well, not moving your body and all of that. Of course, I'm more prone to cancer and to depression than anyone else. And so
you're feeding those cells.
you're feeding, exactly. You're in the medical field, Mandy. You know
how
how that is. Absolutely. You have to be aware of your reality. And it's scary. It's scary. Oh my gosh, when they told me that they found something in my left breast, I was like, oh, okay. So this is how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're
on, here we go.
I'm going.
Yeah.
So and what was worse about that particular time when I went to the doctor was it was during Thanksgiving. So they're like, oh yeah, you have this, but we can't get you in for a biopsy until after Thanksgiving. I'm like,
yeah.
And then a colonoscopy. I had a colonoscopy last year, and they found a polyp. It wasn't cancerous or anything, but it's all these things that you have to be, especially when you get to a certain age. Your
family history alone is cause for concern.
Right.
It's like,
exactly right.
You know what I mean? So
exactly right. You have to be very aware of who you are inside physiologically and the things that you're prone to, so that you take care of that. And if anything has to happen, you come in at it early. It's the whole gamut. Mentally, physically, spiritually, everything is connected. And if we ask what our reality is, it's a lot easier to cope through life rather than lying to yourself and being scared of going to the doctor, or being scared of not reading and sitting down for a minute. And just, a lot of the time is just silence. Sometimes I don't work out. Sometimes I just walk, or not even do that, and just sit before you go to bed. Make yourself a cup of tea and sit on the floor of your bed and thank God that you had one more day. Figure out how you fell out of grace, where you fell short, what you did right, and then go to bed. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Get some rest. Get some rest.
Get some rest. Yeah.
What is that? What's rest?
I know.
Right.
I remember the one experience that I had about 6 months ago, going through a huge amount of sadness. I remember I felt the conviction of God saying, all right, so you're going to wallow in your own stuff, and we're going to figure out what you're going through by yourself for the next 6 months, not using dating apps. We're not going to use anybody else. We're going to sit and we're going to figure out where all this pain is coming from, and we're going to do it together. And believe you me, it hasn't been an easy road, but it has been the most fulfilling one I've ever been in.
Yeah. And it's necessary.
It's exactly right.
It's necessary. Yeah.
It's the necessary thing. It's the hardest thing to do nothing sometimes, and then just sit and think about where it is that all this is coming from, and being real with yourself and connect with reality is a lot. It's almost, I think Dr. Peterson calls it staring at the abyss long enough to where you start seeing light. And if you stare at it and you don't see light, it's because you haven't stared at it long enough.
Well, I think it's very life right now with everything, because the media and people are making it too convenient for it to be noisy.
Exactly right.
Very noisy. You can see things. Some things you see you'll resonate with. Some things you see that you won't. Some things will get you emotional. It's like we're constantly fluctuating throughout the day with emotions, whether it's anger, sadness, happiness, whatever it is. We just have rolling emotions constantly throughout the day, and we never sit, like you said, to sit in silence, to gather our own thoughts, and to know us. It's just everything's just constant movement, and it can get overwhelming. It can get overstimulating, and if you sit in that space long enough, it can drive you crazy, and then you get to a point where you're like, I can't do any of this anymore. Like, I just want to disappear. I just can't do it, and that could lead to another snowball.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Dispenza put it really well, like the gazelle in the plains of Africa, right? They see the presence of a lion.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start running until their life is no longer threatened, but they go back to grazing. We don't do that. We just keep going.
Yeah.
We just keep going. Like the lions always, and sometimes there's no lion behind us. Yeah. We're just, you're right. All these rolling of emotions and in different tasks. We're always going, but our body doesn't deregulate that. We don't know how to deregulate it. And so at some point, your body is going to say, I can't go all day with this. And so something's going to go, wrong. You either start having blood pressure problems or arthritis or any other, I guess, autoimmune diseases and things like that. Your body just can't cope from going very stressed to nothing and very stressed and being stressed. Then your body won't know how to go back to no stress.
Yeah. And your body has a new set point where, like, oh, well, this is normal. This is supposed to be normal. So
exactly.
When it's not happening,
but let me get it back there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So Ray's in the medical field too. Ray, when I first met her, she was a medical assistant, and now she's gone on to get a bachelor's. And so she does teaches classes for a medical assistant. She does medical coding. So Ray is really well versed in like the anatomy and physiology as well. Yeah. So all of us know that when you get to a certain point with your body, it can reset and be like, okay, this is the new norm. And so then now it wants that, right? So I think Ray knows me. Ray has known me for a very long time. She knows my relationship with my husband now. My husband and I have been together 30 years, but there was a point in our relationship where I was crying all the time. I was always stressed out. It was like I was in a fight or flight for years. And so now that I'm not like that, there's some moments where I get like, I hear certain situations and my body's automatically always like, oh, this is what way we need to react to that particular happening. And I feel like my cortisol, my adrenals are like overcompensating, and I don't need them to be. But
you can feel your heart rate,
Yes, but I've trained them that way because of everything that I've gone through before. So I'm learning now how to deregulate that, how to figure out, like, telling my body, okay, you are safe. There is nothing happening. You are not in danger. Like, calm down. But I did that to myself because of all the years I put my body through the things that I did.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
and it happens with emotions too. I mean, you have, people that betray you, people that do this, that, or the other. And then along comes somebody who has no intention to betray you. Yeah. And then you think, oh, there's a stab coming. Someone's going to explode on my face. No, there's no such thing. Maybe it's just a nice person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's like, maybe.
Yeah, Ray, do you know what she means, Ray?
Not at all. I tell you, I leave quickly.
That's funny. I leave quickly. In my experience, I don't. So I will stay. I don't leave like that. I will stay. But if you leave me, then I think it's my problem. I think I did something.
I used to stay and stick and stay and all of that. Like I used to just outdo my stay. And then now it's like I'm just the opposite, to where I leave too quickly. Like I'm telling you, the first sign of anything.
Yeah.
I will forget your name.
It's
like it's a mental thing. Like it's like,
like
I got a text one day. I think Mandy was here, and I was like, I don't even know who this is, but yeah, because I'll just delete you. I literally just forget. Like I think I've trained my brain to do that. Yeah, and it's not good either.
But it's a survival thing, right? It's a survival mode. You automatically go into survival mode and like, okay, now I need to protect myself, and this is the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Because my therapist told me, you know, I know you think it's a good thing that you have like that cutoff. You know how people say you get that quick cutoff, you know, and now you just cut them off. She said, that's really not a healthy thing. I know you're proud of that, but that's really not anything to be proud of. So then like she like kind of walked me through like, this is why that's just terrible.
Yeah. But
And I
and
was
I
like,
know,
oh,
yeah.
my cutoff game is just second to none. She's like,
Yeah. And that's
really not a good thing.
and I know I live a very unhealthy, unbalanced mental state throughout the day because I'm like that. I'm quick to walk away. I don't care if you're family. I don't care if I've known you for 103 years. If I know that we are just not going to ever be compatible on any type of level, friendship wise, whatever, I don't have a problem not calling you ever again. And
That's good though. I think that's healthy. That's
like,
that's just setting boundaries.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's just setting boundaries to me.
Like, I don't have a problem. And
you
I
know
won't miss
what?
you. I'll sleep just well.
Me, for example, in the emotional side of in my life, never have I ever been concerned about, oh, you're gonna leave me? Oh, fine. Is that I'm like, okay. But the last one that he told me, yeah, I was just okay. That's what created to in my head. I was like, whoa, what's happening?
And you had those abandonment things that come
yes.
back.
And that was not his fault though. That was my own unresolved issues and things that I needed to be.
That's a control thing because when you're the one doing the breaking up and the, you know, it's not going to work for me, you're in control of the situation.
It was your decision, right?
Right, it's your decision. But if somebody comes to you with that, you're like, oh, wait a minute, time out.
What did I do? What happened?
That's exactly right.
Go into the like,
you're exactly right.
Wrong with me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. When my parents died, well, my parents, as parents, are amazing, but they are we're not perfect, as none of us are perfect. Sure. Right? And so, me growing up, I would do something wrong or be cantankerous or whatever. My mom was like, "You're going off to a boarding school. They don't want you here to." And so, it's a very traumatic thing to tell a kid because she's sowing the seed of you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. So when they died, I thought, I kid you not, I am not overstating this. I thought it was my fault. I thought that God was punishing me for talking back. And that's why my mom did what she did. And that's why my dad died. So God is like, you've been talking back.
I'll take them away.
Go with your parents. See how you feel. Yeah. And it wasn't until later in life, I was maybe in my 30s when I no longer felt that way. And I'm 47. Yeah. So when this person and I broke up 6 months ago, and he said, I'm just not wanting to have anything serious. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because it was unexpected, right? You said it was like
completely unexpected, completely pulled the rug from under my feet. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was my fault. What the hell did I do? What can I do better? And all that. And so after a while, 2 months later, now granted, I've never been a beggar. I've never been somebody that's going to beg for attention or going to beg for anything. So you tell me that that's fine. I'll wallow in my own tears and my own pain by myself. You won't see that, but it hurt me. Yeah. So, you reach out and trying to talk. Nope, we're not going to talk. Okay. All right. Well, then I'll deal with this on my own. No problem.
Then you're back to the abandonment. No answers. I need help. You won't even tell me what happened.
Right. You won't even tell me what happened.
Yeah.
There is again, Dr. Peterson, I love him. There is a there's a term in psychoanalysis that if you don't know the motive, then look at the outcome. So if I don't know what the motive is, really what the motive was when this happened, then look at the outcome. Somebody silences you, somebody doesn't want you to speak, somebody doesn't tell you exactly how they feel. Something is going on over there.
Exactly.
Something is right.
Nothing to do with you.
It has nothing to do with you. Something's going on over there. And you as a human being have to have the compassion to be available if they want to talk, because you would want that for you. You know what I mean? And so that's where I'm at. And so it's tough, man. Everything's connected to that. And a lot of the people that come into our lives, they're not psychoanalysts. They don't know. They're going to do their own thing without wanting to hurt you or anything. They don't know what's connected to what. Everybody's looking for their own interests in their own lives. So, you have to react in a mature way, in a dignified way, and move on with your life. And if somebody wants to talk to you, you're open to talk.
So, Karina, I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
you talked about wanting to like put your voice out there and either maybe be on other podcasts or maybe be a guest on, for somebody or like organizations that want to have a speaker. Because as we know, we're passionate about things that we've had firsthand experience in. And
Yes.
people only want to connect with people that have had the experience that they've had. So, when you lose a parent, it's a whole different type of darkness.
And the way I lost my mom is even worse. It's even more detailed.
Exactly. And that's another thing. Like people that have had the same experience as you have, they want to hear from people that have had that same experience because you know firsthand experience and the depth of the darkness that holds. And they don't want to talk to somebody who's never gone through that. I have never gone through that. So they wouldn't want to chat with me because I don't know the depth of that hurt. I have never gone through those emotions. So if there's like organizations that want to reach out to you or people that want to reach out to you, how would they get a hold of you?
Okay, so I have my Instagram account. Right now I only have Instagram is Shutter, SHUTTER, heart, like the shutter of a camera. Shutter Heart Karina is in Instagram right now. Also, in that there is a contact button that has my name. I'm sorry, my email and my phone number as well. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, but email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. Like I said, I do have other handles. I have TikTok and all of that, but my most active one tends to be Instagram. Yeah.
I feel like that's a popular one. Instagram's really big right now. Well, it was such a pleasure. I could absolutely talk to you all day long.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I could absolutely talk to you all day long. So thank you so much for joining us. It has been awesome. If you want to have Karina on your show, I would highly recommend it. She is amazing.
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, Miss Karina.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into I Talk Back with Rae and Mandii. Please hit the like and subscribe button to stay updated on future podcasts.